Real quick before we get into the review, just gotta thank all the people over on Patreon, because without the support, all this upgraded content that you guys been seeing, from the better editing to the thumbnail art, none of that stuff will be made possible without the patrons. If you join the Patreon, you obviously get access to the Patreon only Discord server. If you're in the $5 tier, every 3 months we do a really cool anime and manga haul where there's a lot of good goodies in that one. Patrons also get sneak peeks at videos before they come out, in some cases months in advance. In a little while, we're going to be doing Patreon exclusive videos that discuss content that I can't talk about here on YouTube because of YouTube's broken copyright system. Series like ReZero will be getting covered, so make sure to join the Patreon if any of that stuff interests you. But with that being said, let's get into today's video. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another review for Boruto episode 258. And now that episode 258 is done in the books, man, do we got a lot to talk about. So this was actually a better episode than I went in expecting. I went into episode 258 and I was excited just based off of the animation studio that was working on it. When we talked about the anime episode spoilers, this was an episode that kind of circled on there, and I was not disappointed. Some of the staff that's worked on this episode, they've done some really good work in Boruto in the past, and there have been a few episodes where they kind of dropped the ball, but for the most part, I've loved what I've seen by some of the people who have worked on this, and this episode falls into that camp. This was an episode I enjoyed. There was nice animation and quite a few sequences. In particular, I love some of the scenes that you got with the expression, the way some of the hair and the clothes are bouncing. This was a good job on some of the key animation aspects, not necessarily the art, even though the art wasn't bad, but just in principle animation in general, this was a good episode. Now, I have to say, I do like one of the things that we got out of this episode is that they are really laying it on thick. The fact that Kawaki and his bond with the Uzumaki family is deepening. And if you read the manga, you know exactly why this is so huge, because we're seeing Kawaki beginning to start questioning his place with the Uzumaki family. And for those you guys who might be looking at this saying, well, we've already seen them have dinner together and we've seen Kawaki under the rooftop of the Uzumaki. That's a key point in the manga. This is another sign of what I've been saying for the last 30 or so weeks. Like, hey, they're laying the groundwork to transition us over into the code arc, and there's some stuff that the manga set up that the anime is gonna end up building on, and that's exactly what's happened. Kawaki worrying about his place with the Uzumaki family, that's a key manga point for some of the stuff that happens in the upcoming code arc. So I love seeing that. I also love the fact that Boruto and Kawaki bond and just their rivalry and like the bickering and back and forth. It walked that very subtle line of feeling like a legitimate rivalry while also feeling like something that you would see with two siblings. So I thought that was handled very well in this episode, and I also thought that this was a very good job kind of setting up the whole idea of Himawari getting ready to go into the Ninja Academy and everything, and the whole concept of Himawari being in a situation where she's showing you those leadership traits that we saw in a couple of the episodes that dealt with her on her path towards becoming a ninja. So I thought that was a nice shot to actually see that, because she's the one that told Boruto and Kawaki, hey, stop bickering and arguing back and forth. You need to work together. When she started getting pissed off, you saw how Boruto was slowly getting the fear of God placed into him, and then once she cut on the Byakugan, you just had Boruto immediately piss himself. I thought that was nice to see that aspect right there. That's another short-term setup for Himawari going down the ninja path. So now we got my initial thoughts of the episode out of the way. Let's go ahead and do a recap of the episode, and then I'll go ahead and give you my overall thoughts and impressions after the fact. So I thought that it was a very good decision for the anime episode to open up with them winning that trip to the hot spring, and it's the very same hot spring that you saw in the Konoha Shinden novel, which is actually going to be getting a manga adaptation later on this year. But in the Konoha Shinden novel, you saw that in the anime episodes where Mirai was serving as a bodyguard for Kakashi and Might Guy, and also doubling as an undercover mission to hunt down the member of the Jashin cult. I thought it was nice for them to go here as well and kind of bookend, tie that into it. And I like how when the Uzumaki family is sitting down together and like Hinata's pouring the tea for them and they're eating the steamed buns, Kawaki has a moment where you can tell, even though he's been under Naruto's household for a long time, and he's used to sitting down with the Uzumaki family. It's still a foreign concept to him, and it just kind of shows you for a moment that Kawaki, he's still very much that same child that was being beaten every day when he was under the care of Kar. So I thought that was nice to see that, and just to see that contrast where you see Himawari and Boruto and they're smiling and they're grinning, and you see Naruto and Hinata and they're being the perfect parents and they're asking their children all these questions and engaging with them, and you just kind of have Kawaki just sitting there because he doesn't know how to respond to that. And then when he does open up his mouth and say something, it's not necessarily the right thing because he doesn't know how to read the room, because that's a foreign experience to him. And I understand and I relate to that. Like, even now when I sit down for like a family sitting and everything, like, I don't know what the fuck to do. So I understand that when that's not something that you're used to and you see people enjoying themselves in that manner, you know, you kind of just eat the food because it's the only thing that you know to do. So I get it. That's a human reaction. Now I might be projecting here, but I love what they did with Kawaki right now. I like how we see the moment where Boruto's like, hey, we got time, how about we play the ping pong game? And what I like about that is that Kawaki, concepts like fun isn't something that he's really used to. And I like how Boruto has to explain the rules to him. And for a second, watching the competitive back and forth where you have Boruto and Kawaki versus Naruto and Hinata, for a second I thought Kawaki was just gonna take things way too serious and start using like his ninja tools or something. I thought that that's what was gonna happen because, you know, fun is a foreign concept to him, because under Kar there was no such thing as fun. So I thought that that might happen, but the way that the scriptwriter handled this and the way that the animators handled it, very nice. I like how even in the scenes where they kind of slowed it down a little bit and used more still frames, it was done more so in order to kind of hype up the moment that you get here. So I thought that that was nice to see that. You had a very nice shot where you had the exaggerated expressions of Boruto and Kawaki when they're going to each other's necks. I thought that that was kind of cool to see that. And I'm not even gonna lie to you, right? Like when they were doing the back and forth and you see how Naruto and Hinata are just taking it to Boruto and Kawaki, I was grinning for a second, right? Like, I'm not like a super big Hinata fan. You guys know that. I troll Hinata because I know it gets on some people's nerves. I don't necessarily hate the character. I don't love the character either. But what I will say, watching those two team up back and forth, and they just putting the work in on Boruto and Kawaki, like, I was like, yo, whoop they ass. That's the one thing I was saying over and over, whoop they ass, right? Like, I was getting so into that right there. I don't know if it's because it's that attachment to the old generation, that might be it, but I like seeing that. And I love the shot of animation where when Hinata is just dodging forward to try and get the ball that Kawaki swings at her, the way that Hinata's hair was just flowing in sequence with her movement and the way that the clothes are kind of following up on it. It might not seem like a lot to you, but this is what I mean when I say animation. I don't care about the art. You can freeze frame shots and say, oh my God, look at the face. And that's a first grade level take right there. So I like seeing that, and just that whole sequence right there. That is beautiful. It wasn't Sakuga, but it was very well done. Again, I was very excited for this episode because the animation studio that worked on this tends to have a really good track record. And like I said, they've had some misses here or there, but when they've really been in their bag, they've been in their bag. So I love seeing that. And I love how for a moment, you know, instead of us just getting the moments where we're seeing them going back and forth and you're running the risk of seeing reuse animation in terms of movements, the storyboard smartly switches over to where you just see Himawari and you see her eyes just being used to convey the speed and the intensity of the competitiveness that you see between the two parties. I thought that that was nice right there. That way when we switch back over to Boruto and Kawaki and you get those very key impact shots, like when Kawaki ends up hitting the net and then you see Hinata forcing Kawaki to return the serve, and you see the way that they're doing the speed lines and etc. I thought that all that was kind of cool right there. Somewhere Ikimoto's probably having like a orgasm with the way that the speed lines are done. If you read the Boruto manga, you get that. But I gotta say, there was one more scene in this where Hinata does a freaking backflip, and again, just beautiful animation on that. When she does the backflip and you get like the curveball and everything, that was so hilarious because I'm like, yo, she's really getting into this right here, man. Like, I love it. Again, like, it might be the old generation attachment, but that put like a huge smile on my face, man. So I love seeing that. And I love how after the fact, you just see them going to the hot spring, and Naruto has a moment where, you know, he's kind of reinforcing the same thing that he had told Kawaki in the past, and the same thing that Hinata told him in the flashback of this episode, where Hinata's telling him like, hey, we consider you to be a key part of our family too. Don't ever think that you're not part of our family. Well, when they go into the hot spring and Naruto gives them the warning like, hey, don't stay in here because you guys have another contest. Let's try and enjoy ourselves. I thought it was kind of cool to see that, because Boruto and Kawaki, they're just going back and forth like, no, you get out the hot spring, you get out the hot spring. And, you know, I thought that was kind of cool, man. You know, you see a little bit of the bonding with them, and that really just builds on what you saw when the Uzumaki family was sitting down there eating food together, when Boruto has the moment where you see him trying to make things right with Kawaki. They go on this hunt for stamps at the back end of the episode, and basically they're going through the inn and they're looking for the various children's tricks that are being set up to try and scare any of the tourists that are staying there. Like, the first thing they see is a poster that has a optical illusion, and Boruto starts getting freaked out because Boruto sees that the eyes are following him everywhere, and Kawaki's like, dude, it's an illusion. At this point, Kawaki became that guy that you go see a scary movie with, and they're looking at everything, and instead of letting the people that get scared, that's their way of enjoying the movies. Like, man, you know, the visual effects right here, like, that wasn't as good, or like, that's like a simple trick right there. It's like, dude, just shut the fuck up for a second. I thought it was kind of cool to see that. And I like how Kawaki, for a moment, you're thinking he's so uptight, but you see him kind of getting into it when they get to the last trick where Kawaki just trolls Boruto and he just starts screaming, and then Boruto starts screaming. Then Kawaki's like, you're such a chicken. And he was like, look, man, this is all it is. It's iron sand placed down on top of this statue. There's nothing to be afraid of. And when Boruto tries to talk all big chest and everything, when the attendant from the hot springs over there, that's when Kawaki's like, yeah, hey, don't let him fool you. This dude got scared every step of the way. I thought it was cool to see that, because it took him a while, but eventually Kawaki began to get into that family spirit. So I like that, and I like how at the end of the episode, when the family picture gets taken, you have this moment where the ghost ends up getting in the back end of the picture, and when Boruto and Kawaki see the photo, they freak out because they say, oh my god, ghosts are real. I thought this was a fun little episode right here. Again, this is more so just laying the groundwork and laying it on really, really thick to set up what happens in the code arc. I don't want to go into spoilers because I know this is an anime episode, so I don't want to go into in-depth spoilers on that. I will say, if you know, then you know. But my episode question to you guys is, how do you guys feel about the Uzumaki dynamic? And on a scale from 1 to 10, how effective do you think that they use this episode to set up both Himawari joining the academy, as well as set up the eventual plot twist that happens in the code arc? And if you're one of those mad lads that loves to get their heart ripped out, you'll want to check out my Chainsaw Man Chapter 98 review over on Kryptonian Saiyan.